Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining today from the Department of Ag, Trade, Consumer Protection. Our friend Michael is back. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, Jeremy. How you doing?
Again, ready to travel to wherever those cabins are located. And, today we're talking a little bit about home improvement and issues and prevention, but these look like they're ready to go.
Well, we got one right here that's got a little bit of work that needs to be done. So today I want to talk about how we can get that fixed up the right way.
There we go. He's getting the point. So home improvement, everybody's been looking to do it. And certainly a lot of new building is happening. It's a crazy world right now. But there's definitely some things that you need to be aware about. And if you are even considering building, remodeling, anything, you better listen up to Michael today because he's got the tips for you. So let's talk about overall, what are some of the issues that you're seeing in home improvement? Where are we getting reports from consumers on what's going on out there for issues?
So one of the biggest issues we're seeing is contractors that aren't finishing the work on time or occasionally just not doing the work at all. And a lot of our outreach previously, and just a couple months ago, we published a reminder as we're coming into bad weather season, well, things to be aware of, but most of the time that's after the fact. And by then it's too late. A lot of times when we talk about consumer protection, it's kind of after when you've become victimized or something's gone wrong. But we really want to emphasize how you can protect yourself up front. And that's the goal today.
Yeah, super important. And these are really great tips. They're not difficult, but you really want to put them to practice right now because, again, there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to any type of home improvement building, even after a disaster. A lot to do here. So tips on hiring good contractors. We'll start with getting it in writing with the estimate. Why?
So the key to the estimate and the contract is to make sure you understand exactly what you're getting, what's being asked for, and when it's going to be done. And these tips today are more just generalized. Hey, you decide you want to get something done, you've been saving up, you want to finally make that investment. And so these are things you want to be aware of. The contract is important. And so I guess I should say the estimate before you even get to the contract. And you want to understand what it is that you're going to be asking for. And we always encourage everyone to get more than one written estimate. And that's important because you can identify, is this really within the market value that you want? Are you making sure that you're getting the exact same work of what you're being asked for? And then also it can help you compare and contrast because you always want to get the best deal. But when you're getting that deal, making sure you're looking exactly of what materials are being used, what timelines are being estimated, what are you going to be responsible for, before that project starts. So when you do that, if you have two estimates and one of them's substantially lower than the other one, that should be a red flag. If you get three and two are about the same and one's really low, an even bigger red flag.
Yeah, I would say that's you. I'd go 3 or 4 at this point because it's so difficult. And you might have a hard time right now trying to even get bids out of 2 or 3 contractors out there because they are so busy on what they're doing. Another question into the estimate and the written piece, and something that is continuing changing is the materials needed to build. If it's written on the estimate for whatever price and that price changes, what should we be looking for on that estimate when we're talking about some of those materials specific and what numbers maybe? And I haven't looked at one recently, so I can't tell you one way or the other, but I'm suspecting there are some moving things potentially that you want to be aware of.
It's a great point. That estimate, because it is not a contract and it's just an estimate at that point, is going to be reflective of what the supply costs and maybe even the labor costs at that time when you get it. So if you decide to go with a certain contractor and you get a relatively quick that estimate, it shouldn't impact it too much. But you give those estimates and you wait a couple of months, as we've seen, the economy is changing very quickly. And so what you may expect to pay could adjust, and that's not a sign of a contractor trying to be shady. That just may be the result of market conditions.
All right, turning to the contract itself, do not rely on an oral agreement. Oh my gosh, this day and age, no way can you do that. You must get it in writing. Why?
The key that you want it in writing is so that if something goes sideways, you have exactly what was documented and what you agreed to so that we can help you. Or if, gosh forbid, you have to file a civil suit or something goes really bad, you want to be able to articulate to everybody else and show them what was agreed to. What's interesting is verbal contracts do have bearing and standing in Wisconsin. So there is that, and they become binding, but it's really, really hard for us or any other agency to help you out because we weren't there, when that verbal agreement was being made. So the contractor will have just as much credibility as you do when it comes down to explaining who actually said what and which was agreed to. So everything needs to be in writing.
I hear this a lot, and I'm glad it's in the notes here for today, is I signed a contract, but I didn't know exactly what I was signing up for. There were things on here that were like, well, they're a reputable company, right?
This is something even in my previous career is we always encourage people that you're under a lot of pressure. You don't want to feel foolish. You don't want to make it seem like you don't know what you're talking about because you're going to spend this money. And unfortunately, that's the part where it can get you into trouble. Don't let your pride cost you a lot of money. If you don't understand it, ask questions, and certainly don't sign anything until you're 100% comfortable. You're going to be spending a lot of money, and the last thing you want to do is have a mistake that you got to stare at every single time you walk up the sidewalk or walk in the door. It's a reminder that you didn't do your homework.
Absolutely. Something that happens at the end of these things, and I would say you better spell it out in your contract, but a completion certificate or something that you're marking that this project is almost done. Why should we have that in place and make sure that it is really specific to making sure it is done before making that final payment?
Because once that's done, then the contractor then has standing to say you either owe the final payment, and if you don't make that, essentially you've agreed that all those things have been completed. Everything that was agreed to beforehand, you're validating that it's done. So you can't come back. You don't have any standing to come back after the fact and say, hey, wait a second, you didn't do X component of that contract. So this is an area where that contractor is going to be motivated to get it done, get out of them, move on to the next contract, because time is money for them. But you are the one who's going to be making that payment. So it's imperative that it's done, not only that it's completed, but it's completed to the level that was expected and agreed upon.
Yeah, very important stuff there. And finally, the lien waivers. For people who aren't familiar with this, how that works, walk us through it, and then explain when we're talking material, everything about the project before we close it out. Tell us how that works.
So this is one of the greatest protections in Wisconsin law right now. I think so few people understand what it means. And so a lien waiver is a provision in a contract in Wisconsin law that allows a consumer to be absolved of the responsibility and liability should that contractor fail to pay for any of the supplies that are for that particular project. And so the key here is that whenever you make the payment, the consumer has the right to ask for a lien waiver, and the contractor needs to give it. And what gets missed here is, the contractor is required to provide notice of the right to that lien waiver. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't, whether it be through intentional or just sheer negligence. But the consumer needs to make sure they ask for it. And why this is so important is if you don't get that lien waiver and that contractor fails to pay, let's say, the lumberyard for, the framing for your house, that lumberyard can place a lien on your new home. And not only have you paid the contractor for those materials and that work, now you're going to turn around and have to pay the lumberyard also for the exact same materials, and you're paying twice. And this lien waiver provides a legal outlet for all of that. And that's why it's so important.
Yeah, you don't want to be caught without it, and make sure you identify that in there as you're working through this. And we are scratching the surface, Michael, and I appreciate the breakdown. There's a lot more information on this on contracts because I've talked with you guys about it. People want to learn more about anything in the home improvement world, whether finding good contractors, watching for the flyby storm chasers, you name it, you've got the information. Where can they find that?
Thank you for the opportunity to pitch this, because our resources are not just the generic, hey, it's out there. We really take pride in making things that are useful to consumers. So when you are looking for that, we encourage everyone to go to our website at datcp.wi.gov. And under our fact sheet area, you'll see home improvement, and there'll be a whole list of things we talked about today and more to help you make sure you're not victimized.
And I can tell you, I am a dumb person, and getting your materials are easy to read, easy to understand. And I'm not saying that just for any it's great information, and you guys have great resources on. Even if you got more questions, to pick up the phone, call you, email you, the hotline. It's great. So, like I said, if people have questions, Michael, they can reach you and get the answers they need.
They can. And if you decide you don't want to go online and you just have a couple questions, we encourage everyone. We have a team of great experts to answer those, and they give us a call at 800-422-7128.
All right, Michael, thank you so very much. I hope you get to escape to your paradise up there, wherever that is, and have a great summer. And we'll look forward to having you back on the show real soon.
Thanks, Jeremy. Always a pleasure.
All right, DATCP, that's where it's at. Great information. Check it out. And please do your homework when you're doing any type of home improvement. We'll take a quick break. More to come. You're watching Talking Pittsburgh. Oh, please do your homework.